What's up, everybody? Welcome to Carpo's Full Moon Fever. Tonight I'm going to do an episode about records. This is one of my favorite subjects, or at least it has been in the past, was vinyl records. And I've had a lot of people, over the years ask me, like what kind of music I'm into. Of course, we all get asked that. And I'm always left hanging, like, well, everything. But, people are like, oh, what specific bands, what do you like? I'm like, well, a little bit of everything. I like, a little bit of punk, a little bit of metal, a little bit of rap, a little bit of hip-hop, a little bit of industrial, a little bit of techno, a little bit of dubstep, a little bit of country, a little bit of rock and roll. A lot of everything, really. I mean, music is like such an important part of my life. I love music. I mean, and I worked for this guy once in the West Hills he was kind of a couple of gay guys, and one of the guys was like, I think he was in his early 50s, and he was always out of town, hard worker, kind of guy. The other guy was like in his, I think he just turned 40, so he was younger, and he was he wanted to party, but you could tell he didn't. But he was like, he was the kind of person who would go out and do social things, So he wasn't just like a closed person. I guess point being that you would think he would listen to music. And while I was remodeling his house, we put in all these speakers in the house, really nice, like Boston acoustic speakers that are like, ceiling mount. And then we put in this control center and panels and everything so he could run all these stereos. Nice, CD player and everything. And while we were doing construction, he'd put on like classical once in a while. But then one day I talked to him and he's like, he said he doesn't like music. He finds it annoying. Like, I guess not annoying, I don't remember the words he used, but I've talked to a few people who just aren't into music. He's just like, I was never into it. Now his parents were hippies, I guess, and they had a Volkswagen bus, and they would travel around and go road trip all the time. They were always on the road, and he was with them, of course, as a kid. And I think that impacted him big time, they were all into the Grateful Dead and music and everything, Who knows, maybe he just had enough tunes, I don't know. But it's a strange thing that people, even a person that grows up listening to music doesn't listen to music or have any bands they like. But anyway, I have several bands I like. And so I'm just going to go ahead and go through a few of my records because I have some of my favorite records here. Now this isn't by any means covering all the music I like. What I did was grab some of my favorite records, whether it was the favorite record of the band or just a favorite sounding record. So I'll just start here because I'm going to go through a whole list. So maybe I'll start with something like this. I'll just go in whatever order. They're just in a random pile here. This is Appleseed Cast. This is a band from Kansas. Deep Elm Records is the label. I found these guys randomly when I was looking through bands I was looking for something new and different. And I'm just going to read this first part. Recording notes. We went into Low Level Owl with a million ideas, and once we got to Red House, we had a million more. The basic tracking was done together in isolation booths. Cobra later finished the drum tracks, and then they go on to talk about what they used. Okay, here we go. On the front, it's got this, an explanation. I love this part right here. It says, recorded analog, that's key for anybody who's really into music. I mean, if you're, that's fine if you like digitally recorded music. It can be just as good if done right. I won't get into that. Okay, recorded analog in October, November, and December of the year 2000 onto 24-track 2-inch platinum studio master audio tape. Location, Red House Recording in Eudora, Kansas, USA. Produced and engineered by Ed Rose. This part down here is great. They tell you which kind of headphones you like. Okay, here we go. High quality, low noise, high output stereophonic audio components will provide the optimal desired effect. If dizziness or faintness occurs, discontinue use. In extreme cases, or if confusion persists, consult your local physician. Do not dial emergency telephone numbers. Neither the Appleseed Cast nor Deep Elm Records nor Greyface Records accepts any liability for damage, physical, emotional, or psychological, caused to anyone as a result of direct or indirect exposure to these recordings. That's a mouthful. Anyway, so this is a 3 LP set. I actually have 3 copies of this album. The reason why? I bought 2 the first time. One of them's green, one of them's brown, one of them's blue. There's, 3 LPs. They're just phenomenal recordings. There's a little story about how they recorded the leaves out in front of the studio rustling in the entryway. When you listen to those leaves recorded analog onto master tape and then right onto vinyl, it's like you're sitting there with the leaves. Anybody who doubts that analog is superior to digital, just listen to the right stuff. It's all about the source. So this one dropped, rolled out, and broke. So fortunately I had bought 2 copies because these are like $100 each now. Has 3 albums. Then I bought 2 more copies. I actually had 4, and the other 2 are on silver vinyl. Gave one to my friend, and then took one to the Appleseed Cast show where they played that album, and they played that album from front to back, and I went and watched him at Burbati's Pan in Portland. Awesome show, and they signed the album for me, so that's like up in my collection. My next album in here is the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Are You Experienced? One of my favorite albums of all time. Are You Experienced? I mean, this album went with me through so many acid trips when I was in my teens. We found this album when I was like 15, and I mean, I've listened to it ever since. And it's, songs like I Don't Live Today, Third Stone from the Sun, just epic tunes. So I don't even have anything else to say about Hendrix. He's just phenomenal. He was my idol. He's like my favorite guitarist of all time, by far. But his music's like, special. Anyway. So my next album Combustication by Medeski, Martin and Wood. Great album. I was lucky enough. This one was on a Blue Note label. And for anybody who knows, Blue Note jazz is the best. If you're on Blue Note, you're the shit. And these guys are the shit. And this album is one of their best. It's, in my opinion, everybody's got their opinions on music, and I'm not. Next one in line is Fish, Farmhouse. I could actually go into details about Fish. This is the only album I could really afford because most of their old LPs go for up to $1,500. But I picked this up for like $30 or $40 on eBay one day, so I got lucky. Farmhouse reminds me of a farmhouse I used to live in. And we used to play this album all the time. I guess my next album I've got here I'll do in 3 in 1. Modest Mouse, The Moon in Antarctica. Modest Mouse, A Long Drive for Someone with Nothing to Think About, and Modest Mouse, Lonesome Crowded West. These albums are all actually, this one was like $150, this one was like $350, and this one was like $200. 250? No, I think that one was like 302. These are original issues. Now they're reprinting these and putting them back out. So now they, nobody's really buying. But if you're a collector, the original editions are always still the best. And this Modest Mouse Long Drive album is the original on these on Up Records. But I bought them at the concert back in 2000. I was really into into these guys, and I still am, but I was just lucky to buy the albums when I could. Next in line here, I've got Dire Straits. I just threw this in there because I had to. I didn't really include any classic rock in this, except maybe Hendrix, Dire Straits. This album is one of my favorites, just plain old Straits. When I was a kid, I got The Money for Nothing, Chicks for Free, everybody knows that song. I got that album in my stocking. It was Brothers in Arms. When I was like 9, my brother was like 6 or something, and so we grew up listening to that. Yeah. I also got Talking Heads, or not Talking Heads, but I can't remember the name of the band, but I wasn't so into those guys. This album, I don't know what else to say about it. This is perhaps the best LP ever made. Roger Waters is an utter genius. This is The Wall by Pink Floyd. And this album is still, to me, the epitome of a masterpiece of music. I mean, you forget about the album, and then you come back to it a few years later, and you listen to it from front to back, on vinyl, on a loud stereo, when you're in a good mood, and you're really getting into it. And by the time you get to the end of that album, you're all emotional, and you don't even have to have seen the movie, but the movie really puts it in perspective. Awesome album. I love all Pink Floyd stuff. In fact, every time I trip, I always have my Pink Floyd albums handy, because it's like, that's what I love. I just threw the Beatles in there. I like all the Beatles, but the Rubber Soul album is, I think, one of my favorites. And it's the songs, like, you know, well, Michelle, my wife's name is Michelle, so, but I'm Looking Through You, It's Only Love, Norwegian Wood. Norwegian Wood is one of my favorite songs, so You Won't See Me, all those, they're all great songs. I love the Beatles, phenomenal. Here's one I grew up with. When I was 12, this was my favorite album ever, and I still have it. It's even signed. Rat, Out of the Cellar. Don't know what else to say. I was a big-time butt rocker, and when I listen to this album still, it's just, it takes me back to those times. It's Rat, bands like Rat, especially Rat though, you know, I mean, I don't know what it was about them. And then when I was about 14, 15, my friend got a Grateful Dead album because he thought it was heavy metal, didn't know any better. It was this album, American Beauty. And we listened to it and said, what the hell is this? And we were hooked. And the rest is history. We traveled around as much as we could to go to Dead shows whenever they came around. I hitchhiked to Cali a couple times. Once I took my bus, once I hitchhiked to go to Oakland and to Shoreline to go to shows, and I caught, I think, 10 Dead shows before Jerry died, and those were moments that I will cherish forever. Amazing times. Great band. So I've also got, I was going to save this one for the end because I'm actually going to read this in the next video. This is No Effects, The Decline. This is about society, and I'm going to save this for later because it's going to have its own video. This one, dusty. Jimi Hendrix Experience in a nice velvet case. I don't know, I grabbed 2 Jimmys. This one has like, what, 8 albums in it, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 albums plus a big old booklet and stuff. And it's a bunch of unreleased and stuff, and it's got a really nice cover. I guess I grabbed another Floyd too because my wife got me this for Christmas one year. Pink Floyd Echoes, Best of Floyd. Great box set. This is what I was just listening to that inspired me to make this video. This is Beck. It's a remix of one of his songs. I think it's Hell Yes. But anyway, this song is like, I think that's the name of the song. This is like, you know, Beck's albums are phenomenal to me. I grew up listening to Loser, you know, on that, well, I had 3 albums. I had, what's the one with Loser? Mellow Gold and Odelay and Stereopathic Soul Manure, which kind of lost me, and then I got away from Beck, but now I'm getting back into Beck. My friend bought me this because I love these guys at the drive-in. You may have never heard of them, or you may have. This is actually a small little EP deal but it's pink and white. I decided to go for the music I liked rather than the records I liked because I have some really awesome records in there that are all kinds of crazy colors, dude. See how much time I got left. Oh, I got plenty of time. Yeah, I ran out of time because I got to talking so much about music on my last part that I didn't get to do the records, so I had to. Anyway, the camera only goes for 10 minutes because it's my old camera, but Propagandhi, How to Clean Everything. Phenomenal album. Nice yellow copy. Propagandhi is a very conscious band, very political, very animal, and anti-manifesto. Okay, you could just take this song, Stick the Fucking Flag Up Your Goddamn Ass, You Son of a Bitch is one of the songs. Talking to Americans. These guys are Canadian, so you know that's not for everyone. If you're a hardcore American, you know, then you might not like it. I mean, we're all Americans, but you know what I mean. I mean, if you can't take the criticizing of the government, which a lot of these bands do. I grabbed this one out of there, Black Sabbath, the original Black Sabbath picture disc. I love Black Sabbath, and they're one of my favorite bands of all time. Ozzy was just, awesome. I don't know what happened to him later, but, he kind of lost me in the later years, but his early stuff is phenomenal. This one I picked up from Graveface Records, which I'm promoting these guys. They're awesome. Everything I bought from this guy is great. I can't remember his name, but they're out in near Kansas or something, and I've bought probably 30 LPs from them or more, because I have all these Freddie points that stack up. You can use them to get free stuff, and this album was just a weird one. It's the weirdest LP I've ever heard. It's the weirdest album I've ever had in my life, and I can't even express it. But if you go, I'm sure you can find a video on YouTube here. Just Google or YouTube Lava Children LP or whatever. This one is Coheed and Cambria, No World for Tomorrow, and I really like these guys. They're different. It's not for everyone. It's punkish, but it's kind of hard to explain. But look at the back. Look at the etching on the back of this LP. Is that cool or what? I'm gonna see. I don't know how well that's gonna show up on the camera, but yeah, some really neat stuff. I have so many awesome records that I'm just overwhelmed, and I've been trying to get rid of them all. So this is the last one I've got here. I grabbed this. This is Dream End. It's not one of my favorite albums. I just wanted to show. This is also Graveface Records. I think this is signed. No, I have another one that's signed. But when you open it up, it's got a little story in there. I'm going to make sure that the camera's catching that. Whoops. See, all my records are going to fall over now. There we go. It opens up like a little story, and there's like a little crying bird over here, and a dying bird up there, and yada yada yada. But each one is handcrafted, and the time that, oops, looks like it ripped. But it's a really cool album, really good album. I enjoyed it. So, hope you enjoyed my LP collection. Just wanted to share that with everybody. And I did it in HD, even though it'll take hours and hours to upload, because I know my video footage has been shitty lately. But anyway, I guess I'll stop now so I can finish the video that I came in to do, which was reading No Effects, The Decline, the lyrics, because I know a lot of people don't listen to punk, and I think people need to hear these lyrics. So I'm going to read them like a poem. Hope you enjoyed the records, or if you didn't, whatevs. Peace.